Rayay family, Anuki Ptah Rayay Amun. I am a student teacher of the master teacher, Babah Yaananan. We are blessed in this day and time to be given the information pertaining to the upliftment of the people that have been oppressed for so long. We've been told that the Son of Righteousness, as spoken in the book of Malachi, will come with healing in his wings for those of his kind. But those that are not of his kind will be burnt up like stubble in the field. This reading, this shadow, is from Pa-Fa'uk Magwan-U Muhammad Salal, the Supreme Beings, Melanite race. My beloved children, Nuwapians of Wu-Nawap, up, you supreme beings, Melanite children of the sun. Know who you are, not what you became in this new 6,000-year world of lies and liars. Before you, the black race, there was none in the flesh. Before color, there was black energy. 76% of this universe, and black material, 24% of this universe. So black existed before any and all colors, its supreme balancement. Black was, colors are, and white became. So before light, which is the source of chaos, there was blackness, bliss. With white came chaos in this universe, one of multiverses of all omniverse. All is black. All colors vibrate to exist. White is not a color. In fact, it is void of color. So in fact, it is void of vibration. And color expresses emotions, or color is energy in motion, which creates mood. And the Wapians, pigmentation or coloration is activated by motion in material matter, tissue, skin hue. Pigment is from the Latin pingere, to paint. The black race vibrates much faster and thereby is much stronger and darker. We have 9 hues in our divine race and 9 species of 9 characteristics as the parent melaninite children, from whom all others were born, made, grafted, or cloned. The very first and will be the very last. And the very word melanin in Greek, melas, black. So because of the white race's lack of melanin as Nordics from the Pleiadians, they were told that they must mix their seed with people of color in order to stay on this planet Earth and avoid death by way of melanoma. Greek, melas, black, and oma, mass, a form of skin tumor resulting in skin cancer, which is a malignant tumor, cancerous, carcinogenic, and virulent. They were informed that within every 400 years they must mix their seed with persons of color or they would die out. And the black race has the most melanin. This is the real reason out of all races on this planet, the African blacks were most often enslaved and raped by others. It is the root of their vampire, or Slavic, a word meaning slaves, or Slavish, blindly dependent, such as in fate. It is all about black's blood and genes to get into divine mind. Melanin is a chemical that changes light or energy from one form or level to another, or from one form to another. Melanin is of biological importance, for melanin is present in a layer in the ectoderm, found in the early fetus 9th week, and it is one of 3. Endoderm, 2, ectoderm, and 3, mesoderm. It is the outermost orb of cells that first form the union of the sperm and ovum, and then contains a collection of black pigmented cells. The ectoderm is very critical because in time, as the orb or ball of cells mature and become larger, the ectoderm invaginates, and then moves into the internal part of the orb ball of cells and forms the brain and spinal cord. So Nuwapians of Wu Nuwap, in a very important way, your brain and spinal cord originates from a melaninated layer of cells in the early fetus, so that melanin in some ways is very central axis around which the brain and spinal cord organize and form themselves. In terms of the eye, ear, skin, anti-cancer, anti-age, melanin in the brainstem being a gateway to the unconscious. There are so many ways of the human body in which melanin plays a very critical role. Melanin is in actual fact the final common pathway for many of the most important neurotransmitters of the brain, such as the catecholamines, the epinephrines, the norepinephrines, indolamines, serotonin, and melatonin, and on and on. Note, Nuwapians, that it is an actual fact that all forms of life has melanin from the original, even plants as well as animal life. You asked me about photopigment. That is a pigment or chemical that captures light. Nuwapians, there are many cases of photopigments. In plants, we call it chlorophyll. In animals, we call it melanin. They are both of the category called photopigments. When we look to the past, way back in time, and observe those forms of life that are both plant and animal, note, there are some things like that. Then in the early form, the melanin is present in some very early, more primordial states. It was anterior to them both. So in fact, melanin is the substance that grows skin pigmentation in humanoids. The stronger the genes, the faster the motion, the darker the skin hue. So this should be clear that the black race is in fact the oldest and strongest, both physically and mentally. That is to say, the greater the amount of melanin, the darker the skin color. The African black race are in fact the supreme beings from whom all others have come forth. Why? Because all humanoids, be they browns, aborigines, Indians, yellows, Asians, Chinese, Koreans, Japanese, or the reds and whites, Caucasoid of Europeans, are two: adamites, reds, and the Canaanites, whites, of the same root genes, the weakest of all the other humanoid races on the planet Earth, Sector 24. And of all blacks, Africans are generally the highest of the highest level of melanin in our bodies. And Nuwapians, because the brain and spinal cord have a melanin origin, the fact remains that black people have the highest levels than any others. Black people of African origin are physically and intellectually more advanced than any other races, and their strength is revealed by their nappy hair texture. As you see, even a newborn black baby may have thin to curly fur, and as they grow stronger, their fur transforms into nappy hair. From 6s to 9s, it's shaped from the roots that is caused by their genes becoming stronger. So make note, Nuwapian, of that. They are the only ones that make the African black race unique. The Nagaro Negroids, who are the only race with 9 ether hair, and all others, as well as animals, have 6 ether fur. So, Nuwapians, this is to say that our melanin leads to genetic superiority. We, as African black race, have much more brain powers and have a wider array of options of our behaviors and powers to reply to, and are able to experience a much wider array of inputs. That is, receive information as sound right reasoning in the forms of waves from the omniverse, and our own ancestors of higher realms who transmit light, color, and sound waves on our own frequencies, A, F, and C. In In looking at the melanic tracts in the brainstem from the evolutionary standpoint, the earlier life forms will have fewer points of pigmented nuclei along the black nerve pathway. There are 12 centers that are found pigmented in humanoids. The underdeveloped forms will have fewer, 3 to 6. The more developed or phylogenetically advanced the life form, the greater the number of the 12 will be pigmented. Humanoids with 46 chromosomes are the only ones who have all 12. The nearest relative, the chimpanzee, who has 48 chromosomes, has 11 of the 12 pigmented. The one that is pigmented in humanoid, but not in the chimpanzee, is the locus ceruleus, a name which means centric point or black dot, and is in the center of what is involved in the initiation of dreams, the time when we actually seek our own unconscious content. This does not mean others and animals do not have dreams. My beloved children of the black race of Wu-Sabat, the essence of melanin is directly associated with the malfunctioning of the central nervous system. This is why the lighter the person, the more spasmodic or spastic paralysis. And this is why the white race is so stiff, rigid, and limited in movement of body, fluency, and suffer so as well as lack of rhythm and the ability to dance to a rhythm. The melanin links to your soul, so they lack soul even in their music. Without numbers, there is no rhythm or rhyme, just jumping, yelling, and screaming noise. This is the result of the white race's low level of melanin and must avoid the sun's direct rays, which can and will kill them. So in actual fact, the presence of melanin and how much is in the body is directly associated with the proper functioning of the central nervous system. The disease, or better, the curse of leprosy, does have an effect on their nervous system. Leprosy is from leper, Greek, lepros, scaly, and rosy, or rose, from the Latin rosa, the Greek rhodon, red, reddish, pink, white, rosy means ruddy. White means fair in their own words of their own Bible. Leviticus chapter 13 spells it all out. This is their curse, their disease in their Bible, Genesis 9:25, where the Adamites, or the ruddy man, becomes Canaanite, or the white man, lacking even more needed melanin in order to function. Genesis 9:25. And he said, "Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren." So now, the white race science is facing the actual fact, the reality that by its own self-defined standards, that the African black people are superior to European white people in both intellectual potential and muscle coordination. The African black race is the supreme beings that they really worship as their deities. Most today don't remember this from their past. The supreme beings, melaninite race. So Nawapians, the brains and spinal cord are very important, as well as the endocrine glands, which are profoundly important. The endocrine glands are glands that are part of the body that separate chemical messages, and they travel in the blood or through the spinal fluid to sites far removed from the actual point of release. So that is another aspect of the brain, in addition to the brain and the spinal cord, where the axial cable tight nerves. It is the whole chemical brain or endocrine glands which do not use the short distance nerve, yet rather use large range chemical messages that travel through the blood and cerebral spinal fluid and carry far more information than carried by nerves. So in fact, each race has their own DNA genes. As for the leper, they have this degeneration, white fur, white skin, white eyes. 2, white skin, yellow fur, blue eyes. 3, ruddy skin, red fur, green eyes. Beneath these 3 Celtic, Celtics with an S, you have many degenerations, yet they are of the colored races, more related to the Dravidian of India, and call themselves Indo-Europeans, saying by that they know they're not pure white, and by whites, if you're not pure white, that is, if you're mixed with any other race, then you're not the white race. Yet the white race will use them to abuse others as if they accept them in public, yet in private, they denounce all 3 said above. They assign names, titles, nationalities, and country names so the degenerates will think they're European, which does not mean you're of the white race. Nor by the term Caucasoid does it mean every and all white persons. Only those who resided in the Caucasus Mountains, and not all did that. Of the blacks, browns, and yellow races, the reds and whites were the last to come on this 6th day of Tammuz, the 6th month in the year 3761 BCE. That is only 6,000 years ago. Before that date, there was no Adamite race as found in their own Bible records. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26 through 27. And Genesis chapter 5, verse 1. So the Adamite race, as recorded in their own records, Genesis chapter 5, verse 1. This is the book of generations of Adam, a name that means in Hebrew, the Arab and Arabic, Adon, or Adam, ruddy, reddish, fair skin. In that day, Elohim, deities, bara, made, chose, Adam, white race, fair skin race. In the likeness of deities, Aish, Gil, made, bear, bring forth he, him. So this first fair-skinned male, or Adam, was born, as you read in their records, Job chapter 14, verse 1. Adam, ruddy, reddish, fair skin, that is, yeled, to bear, birth, born, of a Isha, female gender, of a double X chromosome of a woman with 46 chromosomes, is of few days and full of trouble, ragas, trouble, mischief, anger, chaos, rage. So in actual fact, their own Bible and Quranic records, which both speak of the very first man by name, Adam. Quran chapter 2, verse 30 through 37. Quran chapter 3, verse 33 says, it's a bloodline that was selected to be made, and lists Bible names in this line. Surely the deity chose, selected, preferred Adam and Noah and Abraham's family and Imran's family over the one who know. So the Quranic bloodline and the Bible bloodline are the same Adamite race. And even a list of how long they lived is given in Genesis chapter 5, verse 3 through 32, from Adam to Noah, and even lists the death and the age of Abraham, Genesis chapter 25, verse 7 through 8, age 175. By this you can see how many years from Adam to Abraham has gone by. Not millions of years, only thousands. And the full, complete list of names is to be found in their New Testament Bible. Luke chapter 3, verse 23 through 38. And it lists from Jesus of 2,000 years ago back to Adam of 6,000 years ago. Also found in Matthew chapter 1, verse 1 through 17, their own records back to their deity, God. And by this you can see and count this race, the Adamite race, was not millions of years old, as the bones found in Africa. So the white race is only 6,000 years of 6,000s of years old, not millions. Or they will have to admit their Old Testament, New Testament, and Quran, Last Testament, are lies. And that would mean that the Bible and Quranic stories are lies from liars, not the true story of Adam, by a deity who made him in his or their own image and likeness. It's all made up, legends and fictions. So in fact, it's a true record. Yet, not all of the people on the planet Earth. It's only the records of this one hybrid race of white people, adamites, born weak and wicked, Genesis chapter 6, verse 5, and Quran chapter 2, verse 30. They're God's Khalifa on earth, a successor of their own God, Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, who gave them power and dominion over others, Revelation chapter 13, verse 2. They got their power from the Dragonian race called the Arconian, from Draco, who worked with the Pleiadians, Job chapter 9, verse 9, and with the Anakim, Deuteronomy chapter 128, Anunnaki. It was these who are the us and we who made the first white man, Adam, Anakim, Arconian, Qamam. 1. Anunnaki. 2. Arconians. 3. Pleiadians, called in the Bible Elohim, gods, elves, called in the Quran Alihad, gods, Allahs, the exact same extraterrestrials who came down to this planet long before they made the white race hybrids. Born by unnatural nature, imbalanced genes, full of all kinds of diseases and deformities, with mental imbalancement, a mean and hateful creature, as it says of them in Genesis chapter 3, verse 15. Their own gods, put enmity, hate in them, so they by their very nature are racists, haters of all others. It also says of them in their Bible, Genesis chapter 6, verse 5, the wickedness of Adamites, white race, was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. That is their own Bible's words on the children of Adam and Eve. You see Adam, Cain, Abel, Seth, and Enos. And that far down, the daughters of Adam and Enos are called fair, white. Genesis chapter 6, verse 2. The sons of God saw the daughters of Adam that they were fair. That term fair is used in the Bible with white, ruddy, and ivory over and over. So it means skin color, the white race of Adamites to Jesus the Nazarite. Does not the Bible say Nazarites were white? Yes. The Bible, book Lamentations, chapter 4, verse 7. Her Nazarites were purer than snow. They were whiter than milk. They were more ruddy in body than rubies. Their polishing was of sapphire. What was these Nazarites according to their own Bible records? The color of snow, the color of white milk. They were ruddy. So yes, Nazarites were white people, fair skins. Also, we see the use of it in the Bible, book of Song of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 9 through 15. My beloved is white and ruddy. His belly is a bright ivory. And this is Solomon. Wake up, my people. These are whites. Lebanon is from Laban, white in Hebrew. He was white and Jesus is from him. David, Solomon, the line of Jesus. Revelations chapter 22 through verse 16 and Mark chapter 12, verse 35. So their Jesus, not the real one, their own was white. They show you this over and over, yet you want him to be black. The seed of David, right? Look back at 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 12. Chapter 17, verse 42. David is ruddy. David is fair-skinned. David is an Adamite. 2 Samuel chapter 18, verse 1. Chapter 14, verse 27. And 1 Kings chapter 1, verses 3 through 4. And if you look back in the Bible, you see who is listed as fair-skinned or white, reddish, ruddy race, not brown, not yellow. 1. Africans. 2. Aborigine Indians. 3. Asian, not of these races. Genesis chapter 6, verse 2. Abraham's wife, Genesis chapter 12, verses 11 through 14, Sarah. Isaac's wife, Genesis chapter 24, verse 16, Rebecca, in Genesis chapter 26, 27. These are the people of the Bible and the Quran. The books say they are non-blacks. You can wish Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad were black, yet their own records, books in their own language say they were ruddy, white. Yes, in the Hadith of Al-Islam in Arabic, it says Muhammad was ruddy, white. By those who looked at him alive, they say he is non-black, non-Negroid, not of our own race of the Adamite race. Many of them, the red race, are dark reddish. They have some melanin, some more than others. Yet the whites have very little, and the curse of leprosy reduced even more the sons of Canaan. Genesis chapter 9, 25. Who are these sons? Genesis chapter 10, verse 15 through 19. Sidon, Heth, Jebusite, Amorite, Girgashite, Hivite, Archite, Sinite, Arvadite, Zemarite, Hamathites. The last son of Canaan was Hamathites. They were very dark-skinned. As you read, these Canaanites mix with all others in the Bible, mixed their diseased seeds world over, and was of, as you see, Genesis chapter 10, verse 18 through 19. Canaanites were as family found in Gerar, unto Gaza, and unto Sodom and Gomorrah, and Adam and Zeboim, unto Lasha. So they mix and spread their disease of leprosy world over. You will see this is Ham, black-skinned son, Canaan. Genesis chapter 11, verse 22, not Ham himself cursed. Genesis chapter 9, 25, Canaan was cursed with leprosy. He was born Laban, white, and albino. He had white hair, not thin, straight fur. He was a black man. Each race have their own albinos. Black race albinos are still a black race of our own family, the tribe, as the nation, as Nawapians of Wu-Nawap. Make that clear. So the Israelite Hebrews mixed and married the Canaanites, as did the Edomites. So both Jacob's sons and Esau's sons mixed with them. And they were the people of Sodom and Gomorrah, Genesis chapter 10, verse 19. Abraham was dark and reddish, yet not black. You will find that among them, for where they dwelled, most of their lives is open deserts and became sunburned. So you see drawings of them, they look like black Negroids, and they are not. Adam himself was an Indian, Hindu by religion, as was Abraham's wife Sarah, while Hagar was African, a black Egyptian. I say a black Egyptian because there were two breeds in Egypt. Isaiah 19:2. I will set the Egyptians, black, against the Egyptians, mixed. So many people invaded Egypt, Qamam, and pushed many southward to other parts of Africa, as far as Ghana, Mali, Liberia, Nigeria, Sudan, Kenya, Ethiopia, all the way south from where we originated, Botswana, as we follow the Nile to the north of Zimbabwe, on upward until we reach Egypt millions of years ago. So what we see in Egypt to this day and a while back are not the original Egyptians. They have been pushed southward by invaders of the white race and red races and mixed, who've raced to get our melanin genes, or within 400 years they will fade away, die out. So they invade and enslave. The white race must do this, or within 4 generations they become very sick and begin to die. So they advertise their women on open menu for all to take. They present the white woman as available in cinemas, TVs, on the streets as prostitutes. and multi-advertisements and TV commercials they offer her for any and all to mix with. You see this in their Bible, Revelations chapter 17, verse 1 through 7. They present her as a harlot. She was always naked, nude. They teach their daughter that you can have boyfriends before marriage and one to the next. This is okay with the white race in their religions. And if they come upon another's culture, such as al-Islam of the Arabs, who say you can't touch my daughters, they will try to invade that people or start a war to kill the boys and men, try to get the girls and young women or kill them. This is their way in the Bible and Quran. You see this such as Bible Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse 3, Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse 29 through 31, Deuteronomy chapter 20, verse 13 through 14. Kill the men, keep the women for yourselves. Numbers chapter 31, verse 7. So this is the teaching of the Bible and Quran. Kill the men and breed with the women. That is why in the West, they, the white man, will imprison or kill the black man straight out. It is part of the religious laws or other races. If, like Dracula, they don't mix or feed, they will, as a weak genetic race, fade away. They have regressive genes and very little melanin. They need stimulants to feel. Beer, coffee, drugs, smokes, danger, nonchalant, without stimulants. They can't feel because of leprosy in their skin of their flesh. The leper race we in ancient Egypt call the Qamam. Because they're diseased, they can't feel as you, can't smell as you, they can't move as you, can't think as you, don't see colors as you do. They lack emotion like animals, beasts. They live on instincts. Our mind is naturally musical. We blacks have the electrical mind. We have the chemical mind. Both of them have melanic origin. So that the brain, which has an electrical component, we call the brain, the spinal cord, and the chemical brain. That is the endocrine brain. So in actual fact, that part of us is both different aspects of this thing called the mind. That part of us which is able to receive light or any sensory experience, be it sight, smell, sound, wind, taste, touch, order to whatever it might be and convert it into an idea. So it converts it from some type of an external event into meaning or ideas or symbols or images, and also gives us the means to respond to that external event in an organized manner. So that in that way, melanin is actually the way to the mental fact. So Nuwaubians, the point to consider is the actual fact of melanin being present in the brainstem, almost as if it is the gateway to the unconscious memory banks. The abnormal state in which people have a flooding of their minds by the outpouring of unconscious content are conditions in which there is a large amount of melanin production in the brain. And in the brain is seated your pineal gland, also called pineal gland, pineal body, from Latin pinea, cone, a small cone-shaped body in the brain that produces a hormone. And Nuwaubians, hormone is from Greek, hormone, impulse, and impulse means an impelling force, the motion or effect caused by such a force. So again, we see motion as emotional forces. At this point, we come to the intersection of science, religion, and mysticism, and extrasensory perception from the 5 senses up to the 9 senses. Only the black race have direct access to all 9 senses.